lecturer, Mr. Ibrahim Sona, who is coming to talk to us on the brief history of Sierra Leone. Mr. Ibrahim Sona, please.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to be talking about a brief history of Sierra Leone. But because we haven't got enough time, I decided to do a bit of summary, which I wrote down on a piece of paper. First of all, Sierra Leone have a very colorful history, which I'm going to be talking about. For those of us who don't know where Sierra Leone is located in West Africa. We share a border with Liberia in the east and Guinea-Conakry in the north. Before the European contact with Sierra Leone, the land has been inhabited continuously for at least 2,500 years ago by Africans. The earliest inhabitants were the Shabros, the Timini, and later the Mende and the Kono who settled in the east. The Mende people used to call Sierra Leone, before it was named Sierra Leone, Romaro. That was the name Sierra Leone was known as. And our earliest contact with the Europeans was when 1462 Pedro da Sintra arrived in the shores of Sierra Leone and mapped the hill area which he called Sierra Leone, which named Lion Mountain. And later the Italians end up calling Sierra Leone Sierra Leone, which ended up being Sierra Leone. Then after 33 years, the Portuguese decided to build a fort at the harbour for their trade, and it became a trading point for buying slaves, exporting them to Europe and the Americas. Then later on, the Dutch came to Sierra Leone. They stayed there for a while and do businesses, followed by the French. And our colonial rulers were the British. They came very late, after 100 years, when the Europeans, the Portuguese, the Dutch, and the French have been there doing trade. The Europeans, the British came in 1562 by a nobleman who was called John Hopkins, who exported 300 slaves from the shore of Sierra Leone to the Americas during the slave trade. And the British they stayed there for quite a long time, almost like 200 years. Then in 1787, when towards the end of the slave trade, the English traders founded a settlement in Freetown, naming it the province of Freetown, which became the home of free slaves from the America. Then through the influence of Thomas Peters, which is another slave that was in the, where was he? Thomas Peters was in Nova Scotia, and he too relocated 1,196 black Americans to Freetown. And the British took over from Thomas Peters' company, which was called the Sierra Leone Company, and Freetown became the colony, which was in 1808. The confusion I never knew when I did my research. I found out that Sierra Leone didn't become a crown colony at that time. It was only Freetown in 1808. It's after I found out that it took 90 years for the British people to go into the interior to colonize them as well. So Freetown was the only colony in 1808. And in 1898, when the Protectorate was colonized by the British, was called the British Protectorate in 1898. But then that led to the Otax War, because the rulers in the province, who were like Baibure, the Kailondos, and decided to refuse the Otax War, which was later on called the Mende and Timini War. Then after that, almost 150 years, you have people like the Lamina Sankor, who was born in Gloucester by the name of National Jones, who later changed his name to Lamina Sankor because his belief was that he was a nationalist. He don't believe in divide and rule, when the country was divided. You have the colony and the protectorate. So he wants everybody to have one Sierra Leone. And he started a movement to bring the country together. Then during that time, he formed his own movement, which was called he formed his own party, which was called the People's Party of Sierra Leone. It was a political movement formed by Lamine Sanko in 1948. The party sought to unite the British colony of Freetown with the Protectorate of Sierra Leone, which was governed separately until independence in 1961. The party merged with two other organizations, and this is how SLPP was formed. You have the Protectorate Education Progressive Union and the Sierra Leone Organization Society in 1951 to form the Sierra Leone People Party. And in November 51, Samuel Magai oversaw the drafting of the new constitution, which united the separate colonies and the protectorate together. And in 1953, Sierra Leone was granted local ministerial powers, and Magai was elected Chief Minister of Sierra Leone. The constitution of Sierra Leone was drafted at that time. Then we held our first election in May 1957 when Sierra Leone held its first parliamentary elections. The Sierra Leone People's Party, which was then the most popular party, won the election, and Magai was re-elected as Chief Minister. Then as Magai, his campaign was based on taking the country into independence. So in 1960, Magai held a delegation to a constitutional conference in London, which was called the Lancaster House Conference, where Magai traveled with people like John Kaifa Smart, Lamine Sanko, Bandia Tijansi, Koblo Gulama, Amadou Wuri, Mohamed Sanusi Mustafa, Eustace Taylor Cummings. And they signed the agreement for us to have independence on 27th April 1961. Shaka Stephen too was in that delegate that came to London in 1960, but he refused to sign the agreement for us to get an independence because he said there was a secret pact which he was not agreed with. And when they returned back, and Shaka Stephen decided to be placed under house arrest and Lamine Sanko because there was an intelligence that they were going to organize a demonstration on the day of independence. So they were under house arrest when independence took place. So on the 27th of April 1961, the Union Jack was replaced by the green, white and blue flag. And that's when we gained our independence. But there was a speech that Samuel Magai made on that day, which I just decided to get a bit of his quote, which I would like to read out to you guys. On that day, he said, "We must also face up squarely to the point in future will depend very greatly on the activities, support and assistance of each one of you. I ask you to deal fairly and honestly with your fellow men, to encourage lawlessness, and to discourage lawlessness and strive actively for peace, friendship and unity in our country. I would like to make it clear that independence will not result in any sudden change in our day-to-day life. The significant change is that we are now in complete control of our destiny and for the formulation of our external as well as our internal policies. I wish you all to be assured that we in Sierra Leone will stand for the freedom and prosperity of man and woman everywhere." My question tonight from his speech, are we actually follow what his speech said? Because after 58 years of independence, we've seen a lot of changes in Sierra Leone, military coups, changes of government, but are we still a united country? This is a question I want everyone to ponder their thoughts on, because we need to be united. And the country is more divided in, I don't know what to say, it's more divided going back to in the 60s when the old man vision for Sierra Leone was for us to come to one, and we are still divided. And that's what I want everybody to ponder on, and let us think about that. If we actually, all his speech, if we follow what his speech says, because we are still divided, and I really want us to come together. And I thank you all for listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sona, for giving us that briefing on Sierra Leone history.